and yesterday's race had drama right the way through. The championship has a record-breaking 27 entries here this weekend. There's a great mix, and although you've been looking at the Sins and the KTMs at the front, and now Maseratis on the third row, it was one of those Maseratis, the one on the left, the car of Luca Anselmi and Giorgio Giotto, that won yesterday's race. That was a race that kept on giving. It was drama after drama, battle after battle. Porsche, BMW, Chevrolet represented on the grid this weekend as well. And there's the lone Aston Martin of Albert Blum in the order, and we have the Porsche Cayman as well as the 997 shaped 911 on the grid. BMWs, M3s and M4s, and as you look back, the Equus cars were very competitive yesterday, and they should be in the mix for this race as well. Not every car has two drivers, but most do. There's a mandatory pit stop between 20 and 30 minutes. The race is 50 minutes plus one lap, and the mandatory pit stop time is 90 seconds, unless you drive number 11, the Sin, because by having effectively two pro drivers rather than a Pro-Am, which is what the regulations say, that car gets an extra 15 seconds and 30 kilos of weight to balance everything out. But have a look at the rest of the grid through the Porsche Caymans, or Cayman, and then you get to Aston Martin and more of the KTM crossbows with this very distinctive closed bodywork, looking more like mini prototypes these days. And then at the very rear of the grid is a car that missed yesterday's race, and it's good that it's on the grid today. Peter Christian van Oranje and Tim Coronel's BMW, there it is. Tim, the younger brother of Tom Coronel, another very successful Dutch driver. Tim Alpha Coronel, as opposed to Tom Romeo Coronel. And when Tim gets into the car for the second stint, watch it fly. It's going to be a very, very quick car indeed. David Addison with you, Bruce Jones down in the pit lane, and we are now just 3 minutes away from the start of the formation lap. And as I say, yesterday's race was an absolute corker. We look forward to more of the same. It was won yesterday by the Maserati, number 90, of Giorgio Giotto and Luca Anselmi, who did the second stint, from the BMW of Ricardo van der Ende and Bernhard van Oranje. And third yesterday was the sister car of Simon Canap and Rob Severs. Jelle Bielen and Marcel Nuren's Chevrolet Camaro fourth. In fifth was another of the Maseratis. It was the Alessandro Fogliani, Patrick Zamparini car, and sixth Duncan Houseman and Luke Brahms. But out of all of that, having gone very strongly, but being excluded, was one of the KTMs that had finished in the top three on the road, that of Matthias Drescher and Mads Siljehaug. And Siljehaug will start today because its pit stop was too short. It was given a stop-go penalty. He didn't take it, and so the officials decided that the penalty for that was exclusion. So the car that will start on fourth from the grid, Mads Siljehaug at the wheel, yesterday went well, but had little to show for it in the end because of that exclusion. We'll see how it gets on today once this race gets underway. And Siljehaug proved to be very rapid indeed, but in the majority of cases, it's going to be the quicker driver who will do the second stint. The Pro-Am format means that the Pro normally starts race 1 and the Am starts race 2. So we're going to end up with the Stars, perhaps in some cases having to make amends for slower lap times from their gentleman racer, their co-driver, in the first part. And the grid just about clear, so very shortly we should be ready to have the cars released, and then this formation lap underway. GT4 has been popular in Holland, but the European Championship has ebbed and flowed over the years, and finally it looks as though it's on the up, and it's a championship that deserves to have a good entry because it's a very successful concept. Lots of cars are available, and now we're going to see, one hopes, the championship really deliver what it has been promising for many, many years. So this mix of cars, in one or two cases, mini prototypes like the Sin, that is the white prototype lookalike on pole position, but they're further back on the grid. You've got the KTM number 24, which is going to be started by Tim Stapler, and 84 alongside of Mads Siljehaug. That was the car that was excluded from yesterday's race. So the car's now about to be released. The pace car, as it is, moves away. The green flag is waved from the gantry, and Andy Gulden, Andreas Gulden, instructor at the Nordschleife and a regular in VLN races, leads them away. The other great thing about this series is the different noises the cars make, and you've got the Maseratis and the Chevrolets with perhaps the best noises of all. Everybody trying to weave around now and get warmth into the tyres. Pirelli rubber they run on as the cars head down towards the Rettifilio. Everybody is away then, so as I said earlier on, although Peter Christian van Oranje's BMW missed yesterday's race, the good news is it's on the grid today. It will start from the back. It didn't actually get a time in because of its woes in the first part of qualifying, but we'll see what progress it can make now. Over 50 minutes plus 1 lap. And the cars turning their way through the Curva Grande. Remember, there is this mandatory pit stop, and remember that an extra 15 seconds are given to the Sin, that's on pole position of Andy Goulden and his co-driver Henrik Still. Both of them experienced long-distance racers, VLN competitors on the Nordschleife and other things, so you can always anticipate a good result to come from them. Laura Kreimer is at the wheel of number 14, the car shared with the Belgian driver Jamie van den Balk. As the field turns its way up through the Lesmo bends, it's going to be a rolling start, of course, so they don't stop on the grid. We'll go straight into the race. The lights out on the safety car, the pace car as it is now, ready to bring them round for the last 2 or 3 corners. Then they'll get into that side-by-side Noah's Ark formation, and if the race director is happy, then the call can be given to release the cars. It's a concept that's been around this for a decade or so, and now with a big entry, delivering some great racing this weekend. Andy Goulden starts on pole with Marco Heli-Stakkengas alongside. Then it is Tim Stuppler with Mads Siljehaug for company. Then Luca Anselmi starts 5th ahead of Romain Monti, the soloist. Next up, Giovanelli Alessandro, then Patrick Zamparini and Dietmar Lackinger, with Marcel Nuren rounding out the top 10 ahead of BMW dealer Andre Grammatico and Giuseppe Fascicolo, who missed out on a race yesterday. He is in 12th on the grid ahead of Rob Severs. Then Bernhard van Oranje, Luke Brahms, whose son Max is the driving force behind this championship. Alessandro Erzetti is 16th ahead of Emmanuel Vinke. Then Daniel Reimers. Anthony Chodson starts from 19th ahead of Max Wilke. Carsten Struve is another soloist. Then it is Mike Hansch. That car got a penalty for missing the pit window yesterday. Jerome Demey starts 23rd on the grid. And then Rebecca Jackson will be next ahead of Anna Rata. Then Laura Kreimer and Peter Christian van Oranje to round out the grid. Rebecca Jackson, the British former Porsche racer, motoring journalist, TV presenter, and driving the RYS Team WP car, shared with Thomas Krebs, who celebrated his birthday yesterday. Right, so the front of the grid is doing the right thing, but we need Fascicolo in the yellow and black Maserati there to join the Crocodile. And it's going to be a rather scrappy start otherwise. So as they come down towards the Parabolica, yes, I think he's getting there now, up towards the rear of the train, as also should be Andre Grammatico, who was a retirement yesterday with a rather smoky M3 BMW. And so off the Parabolica they will come. The race officials are ready to release the cars for 50 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. Up towards the timing line they come. Then now on the inside is the white Sin in the hands of Andreas Goulden. Alongside is the KTM and Marco Heli-Stakkengas, and in a moment or two the officials are going to release the cars. The second races go then as they blast away. Goulden makes a good start, also from the outside of row 2, Mads Siljehaug in the black KTM trying to gain ground, and on the inside Luca Anselmi in the red, white and blue Maserati losing out a little bit on the run down towards the Rettifilio for the first time. It's going to be Andy Goulden who leads the way then, with the KTM snapping at his heels, and then the Maserati's trying to get in on the mix as well, and also a good start being made by the first of the Chevrolets, Marcel Nuren in number 1. There goes Luke Brahms number 2, and 18, which is the Porsche in the hands of Daniel Reimers, also trying to get in on the act as well as the cars accelerate up through the Curva Grande for the first time. But Goulden is away and gone already. The Sin, with a great start, leads the way. So the 6.2 V8 engine car leads, and then the KTMs try not to trip over themselves, and very nearly do as they wriggle their way through the Variante della Roggia. Maseratis have got nowhere to go. Whoops, there's contact. Siljehaug gets turned around in the mid-pack, and off he goes backwards into the barrier. He got a big shoulder charge from one of the bigger cars, and that has just spat him off the road. So Mads Siljehaug, who was very quick yesterday, I'm afraid, is now staring at being at the back, even if the car hasn't got any damage and he can recover. So out of all of the dramas then, over the first couple of corners, the field accelerates towards us with Tim Stuppler, number 24, going strongly, former Chevrolet Cruze champion, and he's got himself into second place. But away and gone is Andreas Goulden, and the safety car is being deployed straight away. The safety car is being deployed, and that, I'm assuming, is because Siljehaug can't get going. Down towards the Variante Ascari they come, And Andreas Gulden's advantage is about to disappear because they're all going to have to form up behind. And there you can see, yes, he did bounce off the barrier pretty hard, and there is the rear damage. See that wheel at a jaunty angle. The suspension is broken, and so we had a late race safety car yesterday. We have an early race safety car today, and that is the reason for it. Mads Siljehaug out. He got one whack in the pack of the traffic, and then another impact into the barrier. So Siljehaug goes no further. And we'll get a replay, no doubt, to try and piece it all together. But it was just everybody going for the same bit of road, and something had to give. And I'm afraid that Siljehaug's KTM got a knock, and it just spat it sideways. Suddenly it rotated, didn't it? Went off the road. So two impacts, really. One with the traffic, one with the wall. So at the end of the lap, it is Andreas Gulden leading from Tim Stubler. And then in third place, it is Marco Gas from fourth, number 46, Romain Monti, who got tapped into a spin yesterday. In fifth place is the Giovanelli Alessandro Porsche. And this is a replay of the start of the race. See everybody diving down towards the Rettifilio. As they did so, the Sin from pole position in the hands of Andy Gulden, just a great start, blasted away up the inside into the braking zone, able to claim the line, defend from everybody else. Luca Anselmi in the Maserati from further back on the grid. He would have been on the third row. He got mugged a little bit because others found a way past, like Patrick Zamparini in the now first of the Maseratis, the largely white car with the red flashes on it, turning into the Rettifilio, and a good getaway also from 10th on the grid. Marcel Nuren in the blue Chevrolet, he was able to gain ground as well. So everybody safely through the first bit, but this is where it all kicked off. Have a look at the black KTM. It's the third of those cars. Was slow coming out of the chicane, and it was the Autolando Sport Porsche in the hands of Alessandro Giovanelli that went for a gap that wasn't necessarily there and biffed into the side of the KTM. So the Porsche, perhaps the guilty party, but one of those things you could argue as well, with everybody trying to go for the same bit of road early on, and that's the ultimate result of it. A rather forlorn two here at Monza, and we are ready to go racing. So remember that it is Andy Gulden ahead of Stubler. Third is Gas, and then in fourth place Romain Monti. Fifth it is Alessandro Giovanelli, and then sixth now 77, which is the Patrick Zamparini Maserati. As the green flags are about to be waved, we're racing once more. Just under 45 minutes plus a lap of the race to go as they come over the timing line now. And straight away, Andy Gulden is on his toes. He breaks away from the rest of them. Down towards the Rettifilio they go. The KTM's now having to try and defend because in that mix as well, you've got the Maserati in the hands of Romain Monti. Is he going to be able to find a way through? Yes, he is. Romain Monti then up into fourth spot, staying ahead for the moment, therefore, of the Porsche in the hands of Alessandro Giovanelli. But Andy Gulden trying to break clear as they go through the Curva Grande once again. The KTM's, for the moment, have had their battle rather interrupted because they've been attacked by Maseratis and Porsches. But Andy Gulden tries to break away, and the incident involving 84 and actually 27, Alessandro Iazetti, is under investigation. Well, it was, from the evidence we had, the Porsche that got in the mix as well. But anyway, the stewards will have a look at it. Making progress on the very back of the grid, Peter Christian van Oranje, but so too in number 28, BMW, trying to gain ground is Dietmar Lackinger, former BMW champion, so he's working his way forward. And Luca Anselmi there in the red, white and blue Maserati, dropping back. He's just fallen behind Giuseppe Fascicolo, but yesterday's winner falling away, and Anselmi was pretty racy at the end of his stint, so it's a bit of a mystery as to quite why that car is losing so much speed already. Up front then, Andy Gulden leads the way, but in second place, number 24, which is the Tim Stubler driven car, hunting him down as the field works its way then now up through the Variante Ascari once more. Down they come, in towards the Parabolica, and if anything, the lead gap is coming down, isn't it, between the top two? So Andy Gulden is not really getting away here. They work their way nose to tail, and they're also going strongly. Zamparini, 77, in the Maserati, looking for a gap on the inside now as they work their way up towards the timing line. Through they come, past the pits. The lead gap is only 0.4 of a second, but have a look at this. Marcel Nuren goes to the very inside in the Chevrolet Camaro. Is he going to be up alongside Patrick Zamparini? Yes. Is he going to be ahead of him? Just about. The really grunty Chevrolet works so well in a straight line, and through he goes under braking. Into the Rettifilio, and look there, Luca Anselmi in the white Maserati. He's falling back down the order because you've got Van Oranje and Rob Seber in the two Equus BMWs, the M4s, trying to find a way past. Giuseppe Fascicolo has dropped back a little bit as well. These, of course, in theory, are the AMs. They're less experienced, they're not quite so quick drivers, so there's a different mix of ability and pace going on. In some cases, you've got the gun driver in the car, so some will have a different pace at the second stint. It all builds up nicely for this second race for what should be a great finish, as now down towards the braking zone for the second chicane goes the Cayman on the inside of Daniel Reimers to get up past Andre Grammatico. So the Porsche that's going to be taken over by former factory touring car driver Peter Terting gains one spot. And Fascicolo in the yellow and black Maserati, a car that retired from yesterday's race, is on his toes here, trying to find a way up past the Rob Seber BMW. Patrick Zamparini versus Marcel Nuren. The Maserati is that of Zamparini in its very patriotic tricolor colours. And then on the inside line, you've got Marcel Nuren trying to take the place back again under braking. But no, Zamparini is ahead and back ahead, then round the outside, down towards the Variante Ascari. Just up the road ahead is Alessandro Giovanelli. So let's see whether that's going to be a catchable car, which was involved in the skirmish on the first lap of the race. Down they come then, heading into the Parabolica once more. They'll turn their way up through the long right-hander, up towards the start and finish line, this time with the leader, Andreas Gulden, still being chased by Tim Stubler. The BMWs of Van Oranje and Seber both coming under attack, and Rob Seber has got Giuseppe Fascicolo now trying to go round on the outside. The Maserati almost level. You've got the Chevrolet in the background in the hands of Luke Brahms as well, and that is so strong in a straight line with all of that grunt. That is about to join the party as well. 426 horsepower from the Chevrolet engine. So just look at it now going, gobbles up the real estate between it and the BMW ahead. Over the timing line they come, and Rob Seber is under attack. He's also trying to attack because he's on the inside of Fascicolo. On the inside line, he's done it. Here comes Luke Brahms. Can he get the big yank tank up the inside? No, not quite. Not for the want of trying, though. That was brave stuff. Up towards the Curva Grande they go. Luke Brahms looks to the inside line, can't make that move stick either. The lead gap is half a second. Tim Stubler doing a really good job here of hanging on to the back of the race leader. Stubler, former kart racer. And there is Brahms now making his attack on the inside up towards the second chicane. Is that going to work for him? The answer is yes, it does. Through he goes. The Camaro gains a place. And now up towards the Lesmo Benz they come once again. So it is Andreas Gulden leading the way from Tim Stubler in second spot. But there were still plenty of cars lower down the order, like in ninth, the Van Oranje BMW that Ricardo van der Ende will take over. That's going to be one to watch. Peter Christian Van Oranje's BMW 20th for Tim Coronel to take over. And how's that Maserati doing? Yesterday's race-winning car dropping down the order. 10th at the start of the lap was Luca Anselmi. But when you get the co-driver, Giorgio Sernagiotto, behind the wheel, surely that's going to make some ground back up again. At the moment, there you can see Anselmi right on the back of Bernhard Van Oranje. 9th and 10th they run out of the Variante Ascari. Lest we forget the race leader, there he is. The Sin still in charge up front as round the Parabolica now goes Andreas Gulden. The advantage that he had at the start of this lap was only half a second. He's not really getting away too much from the rest of them. Here is Luca Anselmi trying to work out how he can find a way past the BMW as he turns his way now through the Parabolica. He runs a little bit wide, and so for the moment Bernhard Van Oranje hangs on to the place. Long line of cars coming through, including Andre Grammatico, Alessandro Aizetti behind him. Leaders go through, and the gap has really shot up on that lap to over a second. It's doubled as Gulden gets on with the job and pulls away from Stubler in the little KTM. Then in third place, it is the next to the KTMs in the hands of Marco Kalistakangas. Now, Luca Anselmi here, still glued to the back of Bernhard Van Oranje. That's the battle for 9th place, both of which these cars, I would predict, should be there or thereabouts at the end. Out of the Curva Grande they go, up towards the Variante della Roggia. And this, lap number 6, taking us towards the opening of the pit window, which is still about 7.5 minutes, just over, away. It's a pretty narrow window. It's only 10 minutes, and you have to stop for 90 seconds, so it's the best part of a lap, really, unless you are in that sin where you get an extra 15 seconds to try and balance it out between having two pro drivers and a pro and a very quick am in many of the other cars. There through Dietmar, who's running in 8th place now in the car that he will give back to Jan Kasperlik for the next stint in this race. Through goes number 1 and then number 2 Chevrolet. They're running 7th and 12th. Marcel Luren is in 7th place. Luke Brahms is in 12th spot at the moment. There's the Brahms car ahead of Fascicolo. Andre Grammatico is next, then behind is 27 Alessandro Iazetti. Quite sure how Iazetti is going to be investigated after the race for the incident with 84, because he was nowhere near him on the grid, but that will no doubt come out in the wash. Over the timing line has gone the race leader, as there is a challenge being made up on the inside by the number 19 Cayman. That's the car that Mike Hansch drives. He shares with Jörg Wiebahn. Now, they had a penalty yesterday for stopping after the pit window had closed. Communication breakdown in the Pro Sport Performance team. Up towards the timing line they now come. The lead gap 1.6 seconds, and still plenty of battles rage on here. Luca Anselmi up into 9th spot now, has managed to gain ground against Bernhard van Oranje. How is Luke Brahms getting on? Well, he's coming under attack because right there on his tail is Rob Sever, but he has gained the place from him, so he's up to 11th spot now, is Brahms. Sever, BMW dealer, tucked up behind him as they work their way through the Curva Grande. There's the race leader, Andreas Gulden, trying to build as big a lead as he can. Remember, he effectively needs a 15-second cushion going into the pit stops to preserve the race lead. And at the moment, he only leads by 1.6 seconds. So it's going to be a very important second stint by Hendrik Steele, this, to keep the car in contention. Also yesterday, there was concern for the Sin because it had a flapping door after the pit stops. That, thankfully, was sorted out. I think Andreas Gulden was able to just about lead across and slam it shut. But that also delayed the outlaps along with the longer pit stop, so the car dropped down the order. It came back into the mix after a late race safety car. But the car still suffered a penalty yesterday, the Sin, because it was shown a black and orange mechanical warning flag and was not responded to. So a 30-second penalty yesterday for Gulden and for Steele, dropped the car down to 8th place in the end, although it finished pretty strongly on the road. So 7 laps are in the book here in race 2 at Monza. Andreas Gulden's advantage is now going up. He leads by 2 seconds as they head over the timing line. And a big drama at the Parabolica that sorts out Porsches and KTMs, so that's going to delay the pair involved as we get the leaders working their way up now through for the 8th time. Lead gap 2 seconds over Andreas Gulden to the Lennart Marionek, Tim Stuppler, KTM in 2nd spot. And off the road there, the Maserati number 50, which rotates. Anthony Chodson at the wheel, gets going again. So down towards the Variante Ascari, the race leaders will turn, and Andreas Gulden getting away all the time. Up front now, 46 is the Romain Monti Maserati. Going strongly here, a car that got biffed into a spin yesterday, but running in 4th place. The race leaders making their way up through the Parabolica once again. They're heading towards the timing line. 2 seconds is the margin between the race leaders, and in the sectors, now the gap is starting to widen, certainly in the first sector, although in the middle part of the lap. The KTM, the Marionette Supercar, looking a little bit quicker. Over the timing line, the lead gap up to 2.1 seconds now. Replay of more dramas coming out of the second chicane. 64 in strife, which is the Emmanuel Vinker Chris Lock car. Vinker at the wheel, and it rotates out of harm's way. So Goulden up front now, 2.1 seconds to the good. And lower down, let's see how far we are away from quicker drivers getting into the bulk of the cars. Well, the pit window is not far from opening as Alice Gas goes through in the car he shares with Doreen Seidel, who's not as quick, so that car's going to drop down the order. Damage on 77, which is the Maserati of Patrick Zamparini, so that car is going to have a bit of TLC needed at the pit stops, which I suspect will involve sticky tape. There it is, bonnet flapping in the breeze, and number one, Marcel Nuren at the wheel of it, pounding on in 7th place as well. And that's a rotation for Giuseppe Fascicolo at the Variante Ascari. That's where the car retired yesterday on the exit of that chicane, and he eventually tries to get it back in the right direction. Finds himself plenty of room, spin turns the car. We're getting track limits warnings now for Max Wilke and also for Anthony Chodson for exceeding track limits at turn 11. Coming out of the Parabolica as Fascicolo has got going again, incidentally, but he's lost quite a bit of ground as a result of that. Car's down in 19th place now. So the leaders go by 2.3 seconds. It is Goulden over Bernard Marionette, and off the road, straight on up the escape road goes Giovanelli Alessandro's Porsche, and very nearly drops the lot in his enthusiasm to get back on the road. Blasts away, back wriggles left and right, and loses more places as he has to lift and sort out the problem. So I'm afraid that Giovanelli very nearly came a cropper out of that, and that's compromised what's been a pretty good opening stint from him. Peter Terting is ready to go. Race winner in this championship last year. Pit window is now open, so anticipate a flood of cars coming in at the end of this lap. Now Andreas Goulden and Hendrik Still, by dint of being more evenly matched as pro drivers rather than a pro-am, it might be that Goulden stays out a little bit later, tries to build this lead over Lennart Marionette in the Stuppler car in 2nd spot. Then in 3rd is Helles Gas, and 4th Romain Monti. Now Monti is a soloist, so he'll go to the end doing the same kind of lap times. His best has been a 2 minutes, but I don't think that's going to be quick enough to really keep him in the hunt in the second stint. The battle he does see going through, which was Luke Brahms ahead of Rob Sever, looking good for 11th and 12th places now. So Andy Goulden is going to go through, is he, and stay out for another lap? Yes, he is. And then up Marionette's KTM looking much closer behind him as they come over the timing line on that lap. So through they go. Battle is still on between those two as the leaders work their way past the pits. Now we get the first cars coming, which include Luca Anselmi, number 90, yesterday's winner, to give way to Giorgio Sanaggiotto. And also in has come number 2, so Luke Brahms gives way to Duncan Houseman, that's going to be one to watch, and Bernhard van Oranje gives way to Ricardo van der Ende. So there's yesterday's winning car. Luca Anselmi's stint has not been a sparkling one, but he's behind the wheel now. is Giorgio Giotto, ready to take the car into the race. So Giotto is going to be the one to watch to see what he can salvage out of this. The car has been losing time and losing places in the early part of the race. There is a mechanical warning flag being prepared for 77 because of the flapping bonnet. So Zamparini in the Maserati faces a meatball flag. And is there a problem for the race leader? Yes, there is, because he's lost the lead. Through and past him has gone Lennart Marionette in 24. So we've got the change for the race leader. And is it a problem for the Sin, or was there a mistake and it was getting back up to speed? Either way, KTM now leads the race. Their second is Andy Gulden. Third is Hedistaken Gas. You can see the damaged Maserati in the battle pack as well there. So that's going to have to respond to the flag. And yes, the Sin has got a problem because it's a strange line coming out of the Variante Ascari, and it's got no pace, has it, in a straight line. So now past will go Romain Monti, past will go Zamparini, and Andreas Gulden is going to have to pit this time because the car's got a problem. Never mind, it's in the pit window, but the car is no longer competitive as he comes into the Parabolica. Through for another lap goes Lennart Marionette. So the race-leading KTM goes by. In the background, look, in comes the Sin. So Andreas Gulden pits in the window, but with a problem. And also in is Patrick Zamparini, and he's got to come in as well anyway to respond to the technical flag. And there was when the problem struck. Through the first of the Lesmos, Gulden suddenly slows, pulls to one side, almost like he had to do a sort of reset and got going again. But the car slowed once more coming out of the chicane. So Zamparini's damaged Maserati having the crinkle bonnet sorted out. And that car will go back into the race. Sticky tape is there, the bonnet catch not quite lining up, so it's springing open all the time. Pit stop is 90 seconds, so they've got the time to do this. It's not like they're losing places in the race because they're doing that work. So the car's there for a given duration. Number 11, Andreas Gulden, then to give way to Hendrik Still, but there's a big question mark over that car now as to why it suddenly lost the pace, and hopefully news may come as to exactly what went wrong there, as we have now then the Lennart Marionette, Tim Stuppler, KTM in the lead of the race. Patrick Zamparini's team with more and more sticky tape, hoping that's going to do the job to the end. The BMW 72 with the door open is Peter Van Oranje to give way now to Tim Coronel, and Patrick Zamparini having given way to Alessandro Fogliani, watches the Maserati rumble down the pit lane. Now the KTMs, which are leading first and second, should be in at the end of the next lap. The Sin has to sit there for an extra 15 seconds anyway, plus it carries 30 kilos of extra weight to balance things out. So the car will have a much longer pit stop as back into the race goes Maserati 77, now with Fogliani at the wheel. And Hendrik Still is on his way, so whatever it was on that in-lap for Andreas Gulden, the team content to send the car back into the race. Intriguing, all of this. But out it goes. So Hendrik Still obeys the white line as in comes the number 1 Chevrolet for Marcel Nuren to give way to Jelle Bielen. And it comes. And you can see in the background the Alessandro Giovinelli now to Giuseppe Getzi Porsche. One out, one in. Driver change in front at the Chevrolet part of pit lane as well. Another warning flag is being prepared, and it's for that Porsche for when it goes back into the race for exceeding track limits. Number 2, which has had its driver change, hasn't it? Because Duncan Houseman is now at the wheel, having taken over from the experienced Luke Brahms. Duncan Houseman pushing on, pushing strongly. And number 17 BMW, Andre Grammatico, that's another car that has made a pit stop. Yesterday it had a rather smoky and oily engine and put pay to its chances of a finish, but it's going strongly today. Right, in has come 24 then. So Lennart Marionette gives Stuppler. Correction on who started the car. Information from yesterday to today's start drive is incorrect. So it was Marionette to do the opening stint, and Tim Stuppler now takes the car into the race. It's different drivers that start each race, but the information was wrong surrounding that. It's Stuppler in for the second stint. We'll see how he fares. Out goes Porsche, out goes Chevrolet behind as well. Grammatico comes through, being pursued by race leader Halle Stackengas in the KTM, and he's about to bail and give way to Doreen Seidel. So we've got another 2 3/4 minutes of the pit window being open, and after that we'll get a proper race order and we can see who is where and who's going to make up the positions. But we've already had Duncan Houseman do the fastest lap of the race, so not wasting any time, having taken over the number 2 Chevrolet. Down the pit road, ready to receive her car. Whoops, the KTMs collide in the pit lane, and that was pretty undercooked by the team, letting one car out in the path of another. So Doreen Seidel ready to take over, and that could have been a whole lot worse as one car cuts across the path of another and contact is made. But you can imagine that the stewards will want to look at that, because on the part of both teams that was pretty bad, but certainly the car being released had no business being released into the path of another. So anticipate penalties or at least investigations for an unsafe release in a moment. Into the all-enclosed cage of the KTM gets Doreen Seidel, former Playboy Bunny turned racing driver. She's been a regular in the Sirocco R Cup in recent years. And back into the pit lane, I'm afraid, is the sin. So the problems are persisting, and Hendrick still brings it into the pit road, and that could, I'm afraid, be the end of the race for that car. So Maserati being released, and in a moment then it will be Doreen Seidel go back into the race as well, all of which is helping those that stopped early and are getting the quick drivers behind the wheel, such as number 9 BMW, Ricardo van der Ende. And the fastest lap of the race still claimed by Duncan Houseman, who's up to 7th now as the pit stops cycle through. Yellow Beelan's Chevrolet, you're looking at the second of these two cars now. And there is Houseman's green Chevrolet in the background. And he's managed to gain places there, hasn't he, look, because he comes out ahead of the Doreen Seidel KTM. He's on the back of 20. There is Doreen Seidel, who has taken over in number 54, the car that led when it came into the pit lane, but don't anticipate that car, I'm afraid, now to be a factor, because there's quite a disparity between the lap times, although it's good to see Doreen Seidel racing as something other than just a sort of guest driver or publicity driver, as has been the case in the VAG races she's done. And it'll be good for her to develop in different environments and in a different type of racing here. So the Sin was being pushed away in the background, and I think Hendrick Still and Andreas Gulden's race is done. We might be able to hear the story behind it in a moment or two's time, once the information of the car's demise is confirmed. There is the Maserati of Senna Giotto coming under attack, because right with him now is the BMW, Ricardo van der Ende, pushing hard. So we now have that car, Romain Monti's Maserati, in the lead of the race, with Tim Stuppler in second spot in number 24 KTM, 1.9 seconds between them, and Jelle Bielan is in third place now in the number 1 Chevrolet Camaro. Duncan Houseman is 5th and keeps doing fastest laps of the race, so it could be that the number 2 Chevrolet is the one to watch now. The green Chevrolet running in 5th place. Certainly in terms of lap time, it's going to be a car to look for, but Houseman is doing great things. And there you can see the leading 4 and now 5. Houseman at the back of that queue. So this is the race now. This is the situation. We've got 18 minutes and change on the clock and a 5-way fight for leadership. Fantastic. And a white flag being waved says there's a very slow-moving car further up the road. Let's try and see who it is in a moment. The cars work their way up through the first of the 2 Lesmo bends. One wide there, coming out of the Lesmo. Oh, it's the Aston Martin, I think, which had problems yesterday. The Albert Blum Jérôme Demey car. It needed a new power steering pump overnight as the leaders head down towards the Variante Ascari. So who's the mover in the pack then? Well, in the sectors, it proves that it's Duncan Houseman, quicker than anybody. So the 5th place car is reeling them in. So there goes the 3rd placed Jelle Bielan Chevrolet out of the Variante Ascari, but the sister car is homing in on them. In the background, Romain Monti leads the way then, 0.9 seconds to the good he was. And the Sin, as we've been seeing, has had problems. Hendrick Still is now out of the race, but can at least confirm what the problems are for the car that led the first part of the race. Hendrick is with Bruce Jones.
Henrik, still, we saw the Sin going really well at the start of the race with Andy Goulden, but just before he came into the pit stop to hand the Sin over to you, it had a problem, and you're already standing here, therefore you've got the problem too. What happened?
Yeah, I mean, Andy did a brilliant job. The first stint was really brilliant. You saw he drove a bit the gap in front of the second car. Then he said to me after the driver change, we have a problem with the power steering. Okay, I said I tried to do it to the rest of the race without power steering. It should be possible. Yeah, but after that one lap, we had a problem with the electronic failure. I switched sometimes the main switch on off, but no chance to bring the car over start and finish line. It comes often, and then I brought the car back to the pit. It makes no sense to drive.
Yeah, so not a good day for the team. Not a good day for the team, but the championship is really growing, isn't it? 27 cars here at Monza.
Yeah, brilliant. It's my second year here. Last year we were just with 13 to 16 cars or something like this. But now it's a complete full field. Brilliant. I like it to drive here, and brilliant tracks, brilliant organization, and a brilliant team behind me.
Well, let's hope next year when you come here you do a longer race. Thank you very much, Henrik. Tough luck.
Have fun. Bye-bye.
Have fun, we will. 16 more minutes of it to go, and there's the leading car with an increased gap now, Romain Monti, because of the battle on for second place, where Jelle Bielen has got himself up past Tim Stuppler. So we've had the change there. In fourth place now is Houseman. He's got himself up past the Porsche in the hands of Giuseppe Gezzi, and he's about to have third off Stuppler as well. There's a drive-through penalty being given for speeding in the pit lane to number 50, which is now Piotr Chodzin, having taken over from Anthony. So, number 2 still is the car to look for as Duncan Houseman bears down on the leading gaggle. Where is Ricardo van der Ende? He's in the background in 7th place, hunting down Jan Kasperlik. I think van der Ende is probably too far back here to think about the race win, but Duncan Houseman is really going for it. There is 77, which is the Maserati with the earlier damage sustained. Alessandro Folgiani at the wheel. And Folgiani is coming under attack. Down they come towards the Parabolica. Over the timing line will go now Romain Monti with 2 seconds in hand over the Jelle Bielen, and then Duncan Houseman Chevrolets battles on for 4th as well. Look, as Giuseppe Gezzi pulls out to try and get past Tim Stuppler. Is he going to be able to go through under braking? Yes, he is. So the Porsche goes through. KTM slips down to 5th place. Towards the Curva Grande they go once more. 2 seconds then being the margin between first and second. But now the 2 Yank tanks, the Chevrolets, with these 6.2 litre V8 engines, 426 horsepower, bearing down on the Maserati. Maserati victorious yesterday, but that car is 8th at the moment in the hands of Giorgio Sernagiotto. So the 2 V8 Racing International to go into the yellow flag zone. The race leader Romain Monti goes by 1.3 seconds up. There's the yellow flag being waved. The gap's coming down anyway between Monti and Houseman, but a safety car will bring van der Ende into the mix. The safety car is on standby, looking across from the position we have over the pit lane. The lights are flashing. It's ready to be called if required, because if that can all be covered under a yellow flag, then it's okay. But I tell you, I wouldn't want to be one of those marshals bending down at the back of the car, and the safety car is being deployed. The safety car is about to leave the pit lane. The boards are out. The yellow flags are being waved, and so the safety car is going to be deployed. We are under safety car conditions. It will be told to go probably in a few moments once the leaders get back round towards the start and finish area. But the safety car is going to be deployed, and that means as everybody slows down and everybody bunches up, it will bring into the mix the number 9 BMW of Ricardo van der Ende that's currently running in 6th place. So there's the safety car waiting to be told go, go, go. We've got debris on the track, we've got a car in the gravel, and with just under 12 minutes was Rob Sever, but he has now lost out. Oh, sorry, Simon Canap, yes, has lost out to Giorgio Serginotto, who's up to 8th. Simon Canap 9th, and 10th is the Fogliani Maserati that we saw have its driver changed and the damage trying to be sorted out earlier on. So the clock ticks down. The safety car has now been released, ready to pick up the leaders, who have done the job themselves here by slowing right down. Everybody is bunched up, and they'll get behind the safety car down towards the first chicane this time. Another the KTM's number 34 through the Parabolica. Max Wilke at the wheel for the second stint, and there the safety car ready to receive everybody, coming now with just 10 more minutes plus a lap to go out of the Parabolica. It shouldn't take that long to get this incident sorted out, I wouldn't have thought, because the snatch vehicle was there ready, but you need to have the race neutralised while marshals are working trackside, really. They get the car out of the way, snatch vehicle back to base. As number 8 BMW, Simon Knapp, the second of the orange Ecris M4s, is at the rear of that little train. The driver's trying to keep the tyre pressures up and the temperature of the tyres as they jink left and right, up towards the right-hand and out the second of the Lesmo Benz. So the KTM that was in the gravel down at the first corner, hopefully before long will be out of harm's way, and we'll wait and see if the lights go out on top of the safety car. I think it's going to be this time because the yellow flags have just been withdrawn opposite me. There is the car in question out of harm's way. There's a green flag being made ready at the start line opposite the commentary point. So looks like, although it's not yet been confirmed, it looks like we're going to go racing this time. Lights aren't yet out, but they are probably going to be extinguished on this straight now. So, are we ready? No, the yellow flag is being brought back out again opposite me, and the boards are being brought back out opposite me. So, the marshals, I think, got a bit optimistic there. So, there's no suggestion yet that we're going to go racing, and the call, I think, would have to be made by now. So, there's going to be one more lap behind the safety car. So at the marshal's point opposite, the boards and flags are withdrawn. The green flag was being made ready, but that was a bit previous. We're not quite ready to go yet. So we are still behind the safety car. It's 50 minutes plus a lap, not just the time, it's the one lap on the end of it as well. Through they go. Again, cars weaving around, keeping the temperatures up in the tyres, and the safety cars in at the end of this lap. So it's confirmed that it will be this time around. We're ready to go racing once more. It's been another fascinating race, perhaps not quite as dramatic as yesterday, but there's still an awful lot to look for and a lot to shake out in these last few minutes. It's good that we've had such a healthy entry, and as the drive... So here they come towards the Lesmo Benz with Romain Monti, experienced Maserati racer, leading the field. And then Duncan Houseman, who has been a hugely successful touring car racer in European races, in the World Championship. He's been a stalwart, a very successful driver in the gear race at Macau. He's won almost every touring car title there is to win in Holland, and he's been very successful in GT4 racing. Comes from a good racing stock as well, Duncan Houseman. Brother Patrick, a legend in Porsche Supercuts history for multiple championship success, although you don't see very much of Patrick these days. And their father Ben used to be a race official, clerk of the course for the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, for example, so perhaps no surprise that these two boys were going to go racing. Is it going to be a Houseman win, or is it going to be a Van der Ende victory or another Maserati win? Because if they're all so close, it could be any of them as the field gets set to go racing. And what have we got? 5 minutes it will be, roughly, plus the lap when we get back to the start and finish line. So through they come, ready for the resumption of racing once more. Up towards the end of what is lap number 20. The safety car is in this time, and it's now Romain Monti who will blast away up towards 16th. Coronel's BMW is stationary. Van der Ende gains another place. Look up on the inside. And there, Kasperlik ahead of Knapp, ahead of Senagiotto, come through. Second and third, nose to tail. Jelle Bielen is not giving up without a fight here, nor is Romain Monti, because the two of them are absolutely as one as they come over the line. Jelle Bielen runs second. In third place, it is Romain Monti, who's done the whole race on his own, don't forget. So he's been in the car, he knows exactly what it's doing, but he's also perhaps a bit more fatigued than Bielen is. Side by side, they come down to the Retafilio. And look at Van der Ende in the orange BMW. He's up to fourth and he's nearly with them. If Van der Ende can get past them in a big hurry, then there's a chance he might be able to go after the race leader. And there's a red flag being shown on the timing screen, and a red flag is being prepared opposite me, and the red flag is shown. The race is being stopped, and that's possibly the reason, as it dumped oil everywhere. The Coronel BMW stationary. The race is stopped, and I fear that it has dumped oil all over the road, and if that is the case, then the race director feels it's not safe to continue. That can be surely the only reason for this. I'm also looking at track sweeping vehicles being dispatched down the pit lane. So, is Tim Coronel taking pictures of all of this? Yes, he is. So, the marshal doesn't want him taking pictures, but Tim either wants to see the damage or take the damage back to the team to have a look at. He'll be on Twitter in a few moments. So the marshal says, get off the track. Oh, there you can see the line, can't you, avoid all the way around the Curva Grande. Just on that last shot, there was that discernible trail of it. So the red flag comes out to stop the fun. Great shame. And the result will be declared from there. So Duncan Houseman was leading from Jelle Bielen. It takes a bit of the sting out of the end of the race, doesn't it? But it's been another fascinating race, and we've had some great action this weekend in the championship. More please, more please. The GT4 European Series has really come of age this weekend with a very big grid and some very, very good racing. Another car that was in the gravel and off the road was the 35 Maserati, which had been taken over by, for that second stint, Mauro Calamia. That was down at the Parabolica. That might also have been another reason for a red flag, because if that were in a dangerous place and it needed a safety car to extract it, then there wouldn't be enough race left to get it restarted. So the race curtailed, disappointingly, but it was very, very good while it lasted, wasn't it? And Duncan Houseman takes the race victory, and he will make his way towards the podium very shortly. Duncan Houseman and Luke Brahms, the winners. Jelle Bielen and Marcel Nuren for second, and then the soloist Romain Monti in third. So with another couple of cars falling off the road towards the end of the race, the race director, with oil down and cars in the gravel, electing to stop the race. Out gets Jelle Bielen, second place, but doesn't exactly look overly pleased with life. Marcel Nuren embraces him. And a very happy Duncan Houseman takes the win. Drivers making their way now off to the press conference. And a 1-2 for the V8 Racing International team here. The Grumbo Chevrolets have got in a straight line. Very, very impressive indeed. And a good result, another victory for Duncan Houseman. Ricardo van der Ende heads over to say well done. There's a very Dutch feel to this championship, but it's becoming ever more international. But Duncan Houseman and Luke Brahms then, the victors. Luke has been one of the prime movers of this championship for a number of seasons now, and is rewarded with...
If we won the race, yes or no, but normally red flag is one lap back, so I don't know what they will do.
You heard Duncan Houseman talking to Bruce Jones, just concerned about the count back, but I think he's going to be okay, but we'll await confirmation. Duncan Houseman and Luke Brahms, the victors provisionally. Well, let's hear from Duncan Houseman right now.
Duncan Houseman, you were the first driver back to Parc Fermé, but you're not sure if you've won or not, because when the red flag came out.
Yeah, I mean, I was leading when the red flag started finished, before they put the red flag out. Normally they go a lap back, so I'm not 100% sure, but in the end, if we wouldn't have won the race, at least we were second. And I mean, Luke did a great job. We had less damage when I came back in, and we had a brilliant start. I think all the others were a little bit lacking on the pit stops. And the car was fantastic, like yesterday. Handling was really, really great. Where we lacked in qualifying, now the car was really the best I've ever had in the last 4 years.
And I think It was a 1-2 for V8 Racing International, but I think the sound of that Chevrolet V8 going down the straight here at Monza has got a lot of new friends.
Well, we don't have a lot of noise, I think, in the car. So for Pau, we will definitely change the exhaust to make it a little bit more noisy, especially through the streets of Pau. But yeah, I mean, it's like they yesterday said, the Yankee tank, and it's a lovely car, and people like to see it, and it looks great.
It does look fantastic, but what also looks great, Duncan, is having so many cars on the grid. This is a championship that's really growing.
It's really, really growing. I mean, Luke and Jörg Vieban together with Max, who's promoting now with SRO, we always had belief in the championship, but we knew it took some time. And Stefan found out that this was the right point to get the GT4 series back into SRO, and it was a good decision. I mean, with 27 cars, it's great, and that can only be better in the future.
Thanks very much, Duncan. If we could swing quickly round to Luke. So that's a good start to the season, Luke.
Yeah, I'm really happy. I drove a great race. Car was 100% fine. Usually, you know, I do the first stint and then Duncan makes up. But in this particular race, you know, I really stayed close to the front. So it was more or less easier for him to gain the position. And yeah, I'm really happy. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I've just been told who's the winner. So please repeat. Oh, Luke, you're not the winner, I'm afraid. Car 46 has taken it on countback.
Well, shit happens.
Thank you. So it's the Maserati that's won the race there, the Roman Monti. I will go and find him for you.
Thanks, Bruce. Yes, as we were hearing from Luke Brahms, the timing screen did indeed go back a lap on the countback and confirm Romain Monti as the winner. So the Maserati driver, he won by 0.196 of a second. Bear in mind that the timing line is out of the parabolica, so that's where they were nose to tail. It was just after that that the grunt of the Yank tank powered Duncan Houseman into the lead, but wasn't quite in time. So Monti the winner provisionally from Houseman, and Brahms with Jelle Bielen and Marcel Nuren taking third place. And with oil on the road and cars in the gravel, the early stoppage ends up with the countback a lap, and the result will be, I'm sure, discussed by the Chevrolet teams, but Duncan Houseman was even suggesting that he'd be pretty happy with second because it would be a decent result and the car going better than ever. So let's have a look at the highlights of what was another very lively race. It began with Andreas Gulden, the race leader, storming away from pole position with everybody else queued up behind. But it wasn't long before we had an early safety car period, because there was drama right at the very start, heading out of that second chicane, where the first of the KTMs that would have been favoured, Matt Siljehaug, ended up in this little mix. Have a look. The car slows, others dart around him. Watch the Porsche. Through the middle, bang, contact made, and the car gets fired off. There was one impact that damaged the suspension and then another impact into the barrier. So that meant that we had to have the safety car out to retrieve it. On the restart, the battles continued, but just before the pit stop for the leading Sin, Andy Gulden slowed. The car was able to pick up pace again, but it was an intermittent problem that ultimately would force it into retirement. There was this drama in the pits as two KTMs came together, with the Jamie van der Belt car being released into the path of the car that Doreen Seidel would take over. And so as the race had a second safety car period late on, everybody would bunch up, and the safety car was called by Doreen Seidel's demise into the gravel. And this was how the lead changed, but just not quite in time, because Duncan Houseman powered through into the lead of the race, but he wasn't ahead over the timing line on the countback. And so when we got the final interruption, the red flag to stop the race, it was the Maserati that would score the victory. Although Romain Monti had to work very hard even to be second on the road at the red flag zone, because he lost out briefly to Jelle Bielen. In the end, though, Maserati triumphs ahead of the two Chevrolets. It's a shame the red flag had to end the fun, because it had been a very, very competitive race, but there are quite a lot of cars that need retrieving. There's quite a bit of oil that's been dumped down on the circuit as well, and so the race officials want to make sure that everybody is safe and sound, and also, of course, that the track is in a good state for the remainder of the racing here at Monza this afternoon. So the drivers in a few moments will head towards the podium. The next stop for the championship is going to be Pau. It goes to Silverstone, it goes to Spa, and then it also has a support race with the DTM at the Hungaroring. and will finish at Zandvoort. It's a very Dutch-based championship, so it finishes, if you like, on home soil the second weekend of October. So the drivers are there, ready, and in a few moments out they will come, with the V8 Racing International squads taking second and third places. And so Jelle Bielen and behind him Marcel Nuren take third place. They step forward. Luke Brahms and Duncan Houseman, oh so nearly the winners, but just not to be today. They come forward for second place. But Romain Monti is the man who will stand on the top step of the podium. And the Maserati driver making it a great weekend for the Italian brand here, with different drivers taking wins across the two races. The Maserati factory-entered car taking the victory. But we have the celebrations on the podium. So for Romain Monti and for Maserati SBA, we have the Italian national anthem, and then the trophies will be presented. And we've got the champagne ready for them as well. The photographs will be taken, and then in a few moments' time, the drivers can start their relaxing time of the day, because the work is done. Although one or two drivers are in multiple races, the only one from this race that's got another race to do is Jörg Wieber, who was out on track a little bit later on in the day.